You ready to get started? Yeah. Okay. So basically this is, honestly, this is just a really easy, this is the easiest course as far as what we've done in teaching here on the Toolbox Tuesdays. But it was really just to help new agents understand and feel comfortable where to find it, what to do with it, and how to put it on your attention. I mean, so in this case, exactly what you're asking about on that. But just suffice to say, there's two very distinct taxes. There's fair home single tax, and then there's regular tax. Okay, Baldwin County, they assess. Just think about this. They assess taxes in arrears. You get a tax bill. If you have a house, you should know you get a tax bill on October 1st. In this case, let's just say 2021. Is you get this bill here. It's due by December 31st, 21, but it's for the period of October 1, 2020 to October 1, 2021. Okay, so when you get the bill here and you pay it sometime in here, it's for this period. So when you buy a house, and the fair home single tax is exactly opposite of this. So fair home single tax, you get a bill in January. In January of, let's do this 21. You get a bill in January of 21, and it's for the period of 2021. So you can see when you're a seller, when you're an owner of a property, depending on where you are, what are you paying full or are you paying in arrears? If you're paying taxes every year in your house, you're not selling a house, it doesn't matter. You pay your taxes, right? But we'll start with the average, normal, everyday Baldwin County, not fair home single taxes. That's the most of stuff you're going to do. But when you close on a house, say you have a house that closes, we'll call it here, July 1st, 2021. Because the tax year on October 1st is for backwards back to last October. Who owns the house for this period here? The seller. The seller owned the house here. So this is the seller. And this term here, the buyer owns the house, right? Right. But when the tax bill comes, it's for the whole thing. So is it fair for the seller or for the buyer to pay the whole bill when it comes, although they didn't own the house until January or July, so July 1st. So that's where you see on the net sheets, you have a place for tax proration. And it's real simple as long as you understand the concept is, okay, great. We know the tax bill started October 1st, it's going to October 1st, we're closing in here. And so you can just do kind of estimate if you want to, you can do the old simple July 1st, okay, great, I've got October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, all those days, and you can just add up the days, 31, 30, whatever, add them up. And that's how many days that the seller should have been paying taxes for. So at that point, the seller then at closing, the seller is going to get a credit at closing for the tax for this period. And the buyer is going to have to come with less money because they're coming with a credit. But let them know when the tax bill comes on October 1st, they're paying the whole thing. So that $3 or $4 or $5 or $700, $800, $2,000 credit you got here, don't go blow that on a housewarming party because you're going to owe it over here later. Right?
Does that go into escrow?
No, well, the escrow piece, because they're collecting here, does it go into escrow? The escrow, well, technically, yes. Yes, the answer probably technically is yes. Because when you're going on a closing on the July and you're trying to escrow for taxes, your lender is probably going to want to escrow the whole thing plus a month or two in advance. So reality is that's going to go probably in an escrow bucket. It looks like a credit to you, with it over here, they're going to put it in escrow. And that's going to be up to the lender, how much they're going to escrow. But if I were a lender, I would be escrowing back all the way to October 1st. Okay? Fair home single tax is exactly opposite, but very similar. It's just, so say you buy the house on 7/1/21, the taxes were paid here forward. So they've already been paid for the year. So it's exactly opposite calculation. So for this year, for the remainder of the year, the last 6 months of the year, the sellers already paid for it. Well, Well, the buyer then owns it here, so the buyer now is going to have a extra payment credit back to the seller. Okay, so as long as you conceptualize that, then it's just a matter of a math problem to figure out. And now, again, these are estimates, and since you're off by $1 or $2 here, no one cares. But the idea is, if you understand how that works, you can figure it out real quickly, real easily for your prorations. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the second part is great. Where you find taxes, I think you guys already know this, but when you're looking at a property, if it's in MLS, obviously the easiest thing to do. Anyone have a property they want to look at?
413 Collinwood Loop.
Conwood,
Yes.
Is that a prison?
413 Conwood Loop. Okay.
Right.
Is this, tell you what, that wasn't an MLS. Is that an MLS?
Yes. It's pending right now.
413. Oops. Where? Is it in Mobile?
Foley.
Oh, interesting. Well, I don't know why it's not.
Because it's pending.
Well, no, it doesn't matter. This searches everything. I don't see that out there. All right, let's just try.
Now you make me nervous.
Okay. Okay. Tell you what.
I hate it when I know that they're in there and I do that power search and it doesn't come up.
That's right.
But I have to go to the other
$30.
search and put in pending and then it shows up.
Okay. So here's it's actually one of my listings pending. So say this is one you're making an offer on, you're trying to figure out the taxes. It's not a fair hope single tax. Again, the first and foremost, how do you know if it's a fair hope single tax or not? Because that makes a big difference on how you credit your taxes. Fair hope single tax. Well, you look at the deed, but also another easy thing to do is go look at the actual tax assessor's report. So when you open up, let's go back a step here. Oh, come on. When you go into the tax record in here, if you actually go and actually open up the actual tax record, and it takes you to where the deeds and all stuff with Delta Computer Systems. In this case, if the name up here is a person's name, great. If it says FST, in fact, let's just look at another example. Sorry, jumping around a little bit, because these are the important things to know is how do you set, is it fair hope single tax? It's not. Most of the time you're not going to be dealing with fair hope single tax, but if you are, you better know it. You know what, I can't do it that way. Let's do it this way. It's just not, this is not pulling up any of these houses right now. So I don't think it's your address. It's not pulling up anything right now. Anyway, when
That
you,
makes me feel so
yeah,
better.
if you pull up in a tax record and you see up here it says FST and then someone's name, that is fair hope single tax. Now the owner better know if it's fair hope single tax when you're dealing with sellers or you're buying. It's going to say it in the MLS. Is it fair hope single tax? Yes or no? But let's just, in this case, it's not fair hope tax. It's really easy, simple, straightforward calculation. So in this case, we're closing on since July 1st, 2021. When you open up the CRS, the tax piece, you're going to get a tax record, an amount. A lot of times it's going to be backwards in like 2019. I'd rather see if they already have the 2020 tax record already there. So let's go over here in the Delta, look at the tax record. Okay, here is 2020. Boom. Okay, this is a poor example, but actually it's a good way to look at it. In this case, that number is going to be the 2020 number is the best number available. Now, come 2021, we don't know what the tax is going to be. All we can work off is what we know, right? So don't try to estimate, oh, 2021 is going to be something higher or different. But if you notice in this case, tax record, this is actually a good example because this one says 0. The tax is 0. So whoever's buying this house is going to get a really cool present for the first part. They don't have to pay any taxes for this year.
Right.
0. Because this was an exempt H4 exemption. You see right there, exemption on the tax record 0, so the age and income, everything like that. So there's no taxes. Come October 1st next year when they reassess it, because it's sold in July 1st, it's going to be based on whoever bought it now. So that tax will definitely go up. But whoever's buying houses on these, have these exemptions, they're getting a gift for 1 year. They're not getting the taxes, especially if you buy it like right around October. because they've already assessed the taxes. They may not reassess it until the next following year.
Right.
Okay.
Right, like Keith's, because of his disability, no property tax. So if we sell our house today, they're gonna get that exemption to
Until they
October.
reassess,
Right.
yeah, until they reassess October. But let's just say, for instance, let's just say this number here was, I don't know what, $1,200. Let's make the math easy, right? Let's make it $1,200.
Yeah.
Right? So if
$100
that,
a month.
yeah, so $100 a month. If that's the case, and you're buying it on July 1st, I'm just gonna go back and look. You can do it number of days if you want to, or you can do it number of months. You can come close, whatever you want to do. If you want to be exact on it, 31 days, 30 days, 31, 31, 28, or in this case 29, whatever. Or you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. So take 9/12 of that number, and that's the credit. Then now the seller is going to get billed for that 900. The buyer is going to get a credit on closing, and that's where you put that on your estimated closing cost. $900 credit from selling for taxes. Okay. Yes.
Does Fairhope Single Tax give the same break to disabled people or whatever for the zero?
Yeah, they should, because it's really based off the assessment of Baldwin County. I don't know the answer at 100%, but they should. I'm hoping they would. But what Fairhope Single Tax is doing is just taking their taxes they're getting from Baldwin County, but they're not gonna get the bill until October. They can't wait till October to bill you to get your money so they can pay their bill, right? So they're gonna go estimate it on the 1st of January, estimate it, what we think it's gonna be coming up. And then they're gonna send you a bill, so they collect all the money here, and then when the bill comes from them, from Baldwin County, they pay it. If it's off, it's wildly different, they're gonna come back and reassess you a different amount. If it's too low, the taxes increase, they're gonna send you a bill for the difference. Okay, but the idea there is, if they're having to pay Baldwin County and they can't be late or be penalized, they're gonna make sure they collect your money up front. That's why it's forward, early versus arrears and the regular. Now, the same example, had this been for single tax, same example is, again, now it's calendar year. So you'd say, okay, instead of 9 months of a credit seller giving to the buyer, it's 6 months of a credit the buyer's gonna have to give back to the seller. Not very complicated, is it? Right? Okay, so if you can grasp the concept of this, which is a simple concept, you just have to know. Find out the property is a Fairhope Single Tax, yes or no. Most of the time it's not going to be. It's not great. Go in the tax record, find the latest tax information you can. Now, if it doesn't have a 2020 in there yet, and say this was January, February, or January. Maybe there wasn't a 2020, or maybe it's November or December. There's no numbers out there. Just use the latest one they have. And again, this is an estimate. It doesn't have to be rocket science, exact pinpoint onto the penny. If you want to go do the number of days of the month and divide by 365 and put a daily rate and how many days and stuff, then that's technically the right way to do it. But if you want to be close enough on okay, it's closing January 15th instead of or 10th, maybe I'll do 9.5 months or 9.3 months or something like that. I'm just going to eyeball it as good as close as I can. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, there's other things, moving parts on that sheet. They're going to probably change more than the $5 or $10 or $15 in this tax promotion. Okay. So does that answer your question on your sheet?
Yes.
Okay. Now, HOA proration is the same damn thing, same exact thing. It's just the HOA is going to be more based off the Fairhope Single Tax model, right? It's prepaid. Right. Some places like Forest, I think they do it quarterly, maybe or monthly, I'm not sure. Most places do it annually. So you just find out it's an annual payment. It's paid in January or February for the whole year. Same thing if you want to look at that one. If there's $800 of HOA premium, then okay, maybe they're going to get a credit of $300 or $400 for the HOA. It works the same concept, but that's going to be predicated typically on the Fairhope Single Tax model. A credit from the buyer going back to the seller since they prepaid it. Okay.
Is the taxes different if it's an investment property as opposed to?
Yes, it is. So if you look at, let's go back and look at, the simple answer is it's double. Yeah. If you go back and look at this, the Delta computer, the CRS, where is this? Okay, what was that? So the amount, the appraisal value, total appraisal value here, if it's a HO, I mean, if it's a primary residence and you have the homestead on it, they're gonna basically pay, first of all, the taxes are calculated on 20% of that in Baldwin County. So they take whatever your appraised value, they take 20% of that, and that's what they assess taxes on. If it is homesteaded, it's cut in half. Now, if you have other disability or other income or over 65, then that gets reduced even further. But if it's not a homesteaded and it's an investment property, you're paying tax on the full 20% versus half 10%. So basically, it's just double. Of course, insurance will be higher too for rental or vacant houses, all those things as well.
So you're saying investment property is 20% of the appraised
The
value?
investment property, you don't get the homestead.
Right.
So your taxes are going to
On
be
the
based
full
on
amount.
the full amount.
Okay.
So if you were, say, for instance, you had an investor buying this house, for instance, it's zero tax. Well, when they reassess it on October 1st, it's going to be assessed on the investment value. So their taxes are going to go back to full amount. They're going to get a gift for the first little bit, but when it comes reassessment time, it's going to be based on 20%. So I told you this is going to be the easiest class ever. As far as questions on taxes and where to find it, I mean, that's pretty simple, straightforward, right? The main thing is just knowing how to do it, what to do it, especially in the situation of fair single tax or not fair single tax. And again, and that's going to make a huge difference on your cost, because in this case, you were giving the seller a buyer credit of what we said, $900, and didn't realize it's a fair single tax. It's backwards the other way around. And they're actually having to pay $700. That's a big difference on your estimate. So make sure you get those things correct.
They choke when they get those, right?
Oh yeah. Let's. And I'm going to do one. I'm going to search. Let's see here. Closed. Falls Creek. This is a neighborhood of fair up single tax. So I just want to pull one up to show you. Doesn't matter, just search it. So since this is all fair single tax area, so when you go to the Delta computer system, I mean the tax record in CRS inside the MLS, it just shows here, Falls Creek, here's the owner. That's great, but that's not what you're looking at. You want to see, because this is our CRS, you want to go and look at the actual tax record in Baldwin County. You see this FST? When you see that, that's not like a
Their first name,
first name, last name.
title.
It stands for fair single tax. And that's what you look for. If you see that, you know it's fair single tax. If you don't see that, it shouldn't be fair single tax. Never have to ask. But that's where I need to find that out. And that's when you decide which way you go with this.
I know there's got to be a map of Fairhope single tax, and I may have seen it, but
You can get
can you
one.
find that?
Actually, they actually might have one at the federal single tax office or museum. At the museum, actually, it's kind of interesting if you go to the museum and look. I think they do have maps. In this case, hey, Miss Tanya, how are you?
Hello, Mr. Kimbrough. It's so sad to see the absence in the office today. We got fun stuff.
So this Fair Up Single Tax Corporation website, I don't know if it has maps on it or not, to be honest with you. But that's where they have all the documents and stuff that you would use to do the transfers. But they have, I think they have generally maps at the Fair Up Museum. You go there, they have a whole bunch of history about it. It's kind of interesting to go through why they did it and what they did in concept. Anyway, that's the tax. You have any questions on that?
Very well done.
Okay. I told you it was the easiest course we did.
What were you doing?
Just tax prorations and how to do them, consider fair single tax versus regular, and all that stuff. This is John.
John's the best. Where is everybody today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
They're out selling.
Okay.
Do you know what I might do?
Okay.
Questions of the law.
Actually, they got time.
What's the price of those versus other options? All good, right?
Are you all wrapped up?
She's still there. I'm dying to see her.
But you got the gravestones there already? Okay.
It's nice to see you, like,
Yes,
so colorful and
congratulations.
thriving and.
My father got over it. Hello.
Okay.
The dark hair.
COVID, right?
No,
She did. She had a great time with her dad. He did a ton of stuff and then I did a bunch of her up for school. But her work was pretty sad at the factory. So hopefully it'll surpass the It is.
Wow,
They've
okay.
made it better.
That
Like
is
now,
the difference.
tons of rock climbing,
Uh,
better arcades, better.
As far as the mileage. And everything, it's the same, it's probably the same.
Dude, I jump with her.
Everything's done.
Except.
good.
2 thumbs up. Oh.
Not so bad.
Fights, maybe. I'll give the other ones a shot. Hey, forget about it. Yeah.
Sometimes it just comes down, man.
Oh, man.
You should have been a comedian.
Well,
Oh, no, don't feed it, don't feed it.
it's funny how many people just don't think you're funny sometimes.
Yeah.
Hey, John, I got a question.
Sure.
On the taxes, if it was an investment property, say for a couple of years or so, and they were charging the full tax,
Okay.
is that larger number going to display there? So how do you know that's the case when somebody else is buying it as homestead?
First, it'll probably look high to you. It's like, wow, that's high. Second of all, when you start looking in the this here, view tax record, this exemption code H1, that's homestead. Okay,
Okay,
and then you might see an H2, H3, H4. If you don't see that there, it's there's no homestead exemption code on it, and therefore it's probably gonna be investment. Let's look at
You know, I wondered about that because I was looking at different homes on the same street
Yeah.
with pretty much the same value. And I'm like, why are they getting, but I didn't look at that H. Yeah.
I'm gonna pull one up to show you that's an investment. So closed last year. No, where are you here? Let's just do that one. This is an investment property. No address available. Okay, let's just look at the tax record. See, there's no exempt code there.
yeah,
Well, this was based off a lot because
Oh,
it
yeah.
was a bare lot and they just
It
built
was
on it.
new, yeah.
Yeah. But you'll see no exemption code there because it's not a homesteaded property, it's an investment property. And you'll notice, I mean, you're kind of used to what taxes are low here. And all of a sudden you go and look and see, here's say a $225,000 or $250,000 house and it's got taxes are $2,500. You think, wait a minute, that seems high. You know, it's because they're paying twice, they're paying double. But that's how you can verify, look and just see no exemption codes out there.
Mhm.
I did learn something.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
And, you know, actually, let's see. Well, I wouldn't give a quote one like that, but I don't really know. There's not much else other than that. It's basic, but if you have any questions, just let me know. But, there you go. Go on, fire something else. You always have a good question.
Pardon me?
You always have a good question.
When, okay, investment property, they're probably renting it out. What if it's a secondary home, like?
Secondary home, you can still.
Oh, okay.
have home
That's
exemption.
fine. I mean, it's not.
You can.
Yes, you typically get as much, but you can still have a second home. Now, there are second homes, if your second home is right next door to you,
Right, you can't, it has to be like 50 miles or 100 miles or whatever. So if they're in Arizona and they have another home here, they can still do homestead.
you can still have a second, it's not, I don't think you get as much, but there is a homestead exemption for second homes.
Okay,
What are the H123s?
You'd have to go
Yeah.
and search that.
Okay,
I'm just saying.
H1 is the standard homestead exemption.
Okay.
And then there's H2, 3, and 4. 4 is full zero tax value. 4 typically is either a disabled veteran or disabled person over 65, or a certain, if you're over 65 and you have income, a low income, then you can also qualify for H4. H3, I think, is maybe over 65, but not qualified income. H2, I'm not sure what H2 is, but there's different levels. But you can search that, so Baldwin County exemption code levels. I actually did that probably 3 or 4 years ago. I just forgot what the stand for. I just know H1 is the standard, H4 is the C0 tax.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna waste your time.
No waste of time.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But thinking, yeah, there were better things.
Okay.
How's your mom doing?